Relationships as spiritual practice, as the egoic mode of consciousness, and all the social, political, and economic structures that it created enter the final stage of collapse. The relationship between men and women reflect the deep state of crisis in which humanity now finds itself. As humans have been increasingly identified with their mind, most relationships are not rooted in being, and so turn into a source of pain and become dominated by problems and conflict. Millions are now living alone or as single parents, unable to establish an intimate relationship or unwilling to repeat the insane drama of past relationships. Others go from one relationship to another, from one pleasure and pain cycle to another, in search of the elusive goal of fulfillment through union with the opposite energy polarity. Still, others compromise and continue to be together in a dysfunctional relationship in which negativity prevails for the sake of the children or security. Through force of habit, fear of being alone, or some other mutually beneficial arrangement, or even through the unconscious addiction to the excitement of emotional drama and pain. However, every crisis represents not only danger but also opportunity. If relationships energize and magnify egoic mind patterns and activate the pain body as they do at this time, why not accept this fact, then try to escape from it? Why not cooperate with it instead of avoiding relationships or continuing to pursue the phantom of an ideal partner or as an answer to your problem or a means of feeling fulfilled? The opportunity that is concealed within every crisis does not manifest until all facts of any given situation are acknowledged and fully accepted. As long as you deny them, as long as you try to escape from them or wish that things were different, the window of opportunity does not open up and you remain trapped inside that situation, which will remain the same or deteriorate further. With the acknowledgement and acceptance of the facts also comes a degree of freedom from them. I repeat, with the acknowledgement and acceptance of the facts also comes a degree of freedom from them. For example, when you know there is disharmony and you hold that knowing through your knowing, a new factor has come in and the disharmony cannot remain unchanged. When you know you are not at peace, your knowing creates a still space that surrounds your non peace in a loving and tender embrace and then transmutes your non peace into peace. As far as inner transformation is concerned, there is nothing you can do about it. You cannot transform yourself, and you certainly cannot transform your partner or anybody else. All you can do is create a space for transformation to happen, for grace and love to happen. So, you see so many people having relationship issues, changing partners. Probably, the second one would be better because they feel that, they are right at their end or whatever reasons are there. So it's not how it works. Now, the first time this book has actually acknowledged the concept of acknowledging, which we have been talking about, is to start acknowledging it first, then slowly the acceptance will come. So when it's, when the line it reads, with the acknowledgement and acceptance of the facts also comes a degree of freedom from them. So once you start acknowledging, चाहे वो आपका relationship में अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं इधर, once you start acknowledging कि okay, this is in my space, it's here for a reason, so कुछ ना कुछ होगा, and then just don't accept it if you cannot accept it. Just acknowledge the fact that it is there and it is there for some reason. ऐसे तो नहीं आया वो. Slowly and slowly, the acceptance will come, and you would have created a space for that transformation to happen, for that love and that grace to enter your life. So that's how beautifully it actually works. Because जब हम एक चीज को resist करेंगे, तो वो बार बार persist करेगी. वो हमारे resist करने से वो चीज खत्म नहीं होगी. It's going to keep on coming and probably coming back with a higher force as well at times, in order to, get you to learn that lesson. But if in that situation, rather than resisting what is, you start acknowledging what is, then slowly, slowly, you will start creating that space in which the transformation will start happening. This transformation will mainly be in terms of desensitizing what is bothering you. So you desensitize what is bothering you, because the other person is never going to change unless or until the other person is also working on himself. बंदा वही रहेगा, या whoever is your partner in a relationship, he or she, that person, his habits will be nearly the same. Unless or until he's working on himself, he'll also start changing. Unless or until he's not working on himself, he can probably change for the worse also. But you will work with your boundary issue, and you will actually desensitize that part which affects you. And that part, that association currently is coming from your mind, your perception of what is. But जब आपने उस माइंड को हल्का सा ट्विस्ट करके start acknowledging, okay, I acknowledge this in my space. It is here to teach me. Slightly uncomfortable with it right now, but okay, let's see what it has to teach. वहां माइंड खत्म हो गया. In the sense, अब माइंड के पास पावर नहीं है, because अब माइंड उसमें कुछ भी डालेगा, तो you are in that acknowledgement mode. When you are tuned to the resistance frequency, mind जो भी उसमें डालेगा, it is going to be like a fuel to the fire. It's going to add on to it. But when you have tuned to the frequency of acknowledging what is in your space, comfortable, not comfortable, does not matter. You are just acknowledging it's in your space. Then the mind, even if it tries to bring something, that will not have any effect on your vibrational frequency you are at, which is of acknowledging the fact that it is there. Because जब आपने वो acknowledgement के लेंस डाल लिए हैं उधर, तो आपको कोई भी चीज ज्यादा affect नहीं करेगी. It's not 100% true. It can affect also, because then the acknowledgement has gone and you're tuned back to resistance frequency. But as long as you are consciously aware of what frequency you are on, and as long as you are aware that you are on the frequency where you are acknowledging the things in your space, that they are there for a reason, they're here to give you something, or they're here to take something from you. Whatever it is some kind of a lesson involved. तब mind कोई गेम जल्दी play नहीं कर पाएगा. And once that acknowledgement gets in tuned to for a longer time, it creates a space for the healing, for the love, for the acceptance to come to your space. And that acceptance, you will know it when that same situation or that same event or the same reaction of your partner will not affect you, because you have now, with the power of acknowledging it, have desensitized that trigger which used to cause, whatever reaction was there. So you're not reacting, you are now responding. So whenever your relationship is not working, whether it brings out the madness in you and in your partner, be glad. What was unconscious is being brought up to the light. It is an opportunity for salvation. Every moment, hold the knowing of that moment, particularly of your inner state. If there is anger, know that there is anger. If there is jealousy, defensiveness, the urge to argue, the need to be right, an inner child demanding love and attention, or emotional pain of any kind, whatever it is, know the reality of that moment and hold the knowing. The relationship then becomes your sadhana, your spiritual practice. If you observe unconscious behavior in your partner, hold it in the loving embrace of your knowing so that you won't react. Unconsciousness and knowing cannot coexist for long. Even if the knowing is only in the other person and not in the one who is acting out the unconsciousness. The energy form that lies behind hostility and attack finds the presence of love absolutely intolerable. If you react at all to your partner's unconsciousness, you become unconscious yourself. But if you then remember to know your reaction, nothing is lost. Humanity is under great pressure to evolve because it is our only chance of survival as a race. This will affect every aspect of your life and close relationships in particular. Never before have relationships been as problematic and conflict ridden as they are now. As you may have noticed, they are not here to make you happy or fulfilled. If you continue to pursue the goal of salvation through a relationship, you will be disillusioned again and again. But if you accept that the relationship is here to make you conscious instead of happy, then the relationship will offer you salvation, and you will be aligning yourself with the higher consciousness that wants to be born into this world. For those who hold on to the old patterns, there will be increasing pain, violence, confusion, and madness. It's very interesting how these close relationships work. Now, there are two types of relationships which are classified as per the theory of karma. So, one is going to be a karmic teacher, and the other is going to be a soul supporter. So, your spouse, generally it's referred to the spouse, he or she. Now, if whatever you are doing, if the other person, the partner, is supporting you fully, that means he is your soul support. And in the flip side, if whatever you're doing and the other person is constantly making you unhappy and you are becoming unhappy, one is that the other person is trying but it's not bothering you. One is that the other person trying and his whatever he is doing is hitting bang on target. That means he's your karmic teacher. He's here to teach you something. And a lot of times where people have seen in their journeys of transformation, a karmic teacher actually becomes your soul support. Because then, why is that, or what is it that you have done that a karmic teacher becomes your soul supporter, or your soul supporter suddenly becomes into a karmic teacher? If you as a soul are on your soul's journey, you will continue to attract soul supporters, be it in your husband, whether your spouse, or your other relationships. You continue to attract soul supporters in your life. But when you deviate from the soul's journey, you will continue to attract karmic teachers, because then that is a signal to you that you are not on the soul's desired journey, desired purpose, soul's desired path in this present lifetime. So that's a very quick way to gauge where you are and how are you, traveling in this journey of life, in this journey of the soul, and whether you are on your soul's journey, soul's path, or whether you are not on that. So it's a quick check. So if you're attracting a lot of karmic teachers in your life, still, because pehle kya hota hai, you don't have the knowledge. Now that you have a knowledge that, you can't control your reactions, but still, if you are attracting a lot of karmic teachers, you need to introspect and check whether you are actually on your soul's path or not. But if you're attracting a lot of soul supporters and your partners, close relationships are actually supporting in whatever you are doing, very clear indication you are on the soul, on the right soul journey and the right soul path.
Can you just repeat once the gist, because there was a power failure, so it took me time to join.
What part? We were talking about relationships earlier,
Yeah.
that we need to start acknowledging things first, एंड एक्नॉलेजमेंट से धीरे 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 कब एक्सेप्टेंस आ जाएगी, कब आप एक स्पेस ऑफ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन क्रिएट कर दोगे, so that the love can flow into your life. That was one part. That is clear with you?
Yeah, that's clear.
So what we are talking about
You were-
here,
Yeah, you were describing some difference. I just want to know that.
yeah. So as a soul, you have a particular thing that you want to experience. That's why you are here on planet Earth. That's called the soul's purpose or the life's purpose. So it's a quick check for people who are pursuing, this field of spiritual enlightenment, that if you are on your soul path, you will continue to attract soul supporters. Now, soul supporters are people who will always support you no matter what you do. But soul supporter का एक opposite होता है, which is a karmic teacher. Karmic teacher अगर आपके path पे है, so that means he's, continuously going to be putting you down, making you uncomfortable. You will face all the negative emotions through his presence, through his actions. जितना मर्जी आप अपने आप पे काम कर लो, but आप उसके जब भी उसके साथ कोई सिचुएशन होगी, you lose control. So he is a karmic teacher. So two types of people you will have in your relationships: either a karmic teacher who's going to make you uncomfortable and experience a lot of negative feelings, and the second is a soul supporter who's going to be supporting you through and through. So when as a soul in this body, you are on the journey for which you came, for which you took birth on planet Earth, you will continue to attract soul supporters throughout your life. But when you are not on the desired journey of the soul, you will continue to attract a lot of karmic teachers. So it's a quick check as a soul to see whether we are attracting karmic teachers or whether we are attracting soul supporters. I'll try to explain it in a better example. आप कोई काम करने जाते हो, आपके सारे काम धड़ाधड़ धड़ 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 धड़, everything clear. You expected it to happen in say X time or X minus 1, X minus something में आपके सारे काम हो जाते the way you wanted it to be. But अब एक कोई काम करने जाते हो, पंगे पे पंगे, पंगे पे पंगे, कभी कुछ कभी कुछ कभी कुछ कभी कुछ कभी कुछ. It's a time, it's a situation to actually check where is this not aligned with my soul path, especially in relationships. I suppose that it takes two to make a relationship into a spiritual practice. As you suggest, for example, my partner is still acting out his old patterns of jealousy and control. I have pointed this out many times, but he is unable to see it. How many people does it take to make your life into a spiritual practice? Never mind if your partner will not cooperate. Sanity, consciousness can only come into this world through you. You do not need to wait for the world to become sane or for somebody else to become conscious before you can be enlightened. You may wait forever. Do not accuse each other of being unconscious. The moment you start to argue, you have identified with the mental position and are now defending not only that position, but also your sense of self. The ego is in charge. You have become unconscious. At times, it may be appropriate to point out certain aspects of your partner's behavior. If you are very alert, very present, you can do so without ego involvement, without blaming, accusing, or making the other wrong. When your partner behaves unconsciously, relinquish all judgment. Judgment is either to confuse someone's unconscious behavior with who they are or to project your own unconsciousness onto another person and mistake that for who they are. To relinquish judgment does not mean that you do not recognize dysfunction and unconsciousness when you see it. It means being the knowing rather than being the reaction and the judge. You will then either be totally free of reaction or you may react and still be the knowing. The space in which the reaction is watched and allowed to be. Instead of fighting the darkness, you bring in the light. I repeat, one of the most powerful lines. Instead of fighting the darkness, you bring in the light. Instead of reacting to delusion, you see the delusion, yet at the same time, look through it. Being the knowing creates a clear space of loving presence that allows all things and all people to be as they are. No greater catalyst for transformation exists. If you practice this, your partner cannot stay with you and remain unconscious. If you both agree that the relationship will be your spiritual practice, so much the better. You can then express your thoughts and feelings to each other as soon as they occur or as soon as a reaction comes up, so that you don't create a time gap in which an unexpressed or unacknowledged emotion or grievance can fester and grow. Learning to give expression to what you feel without blaming, learning to listen to your partner in an open, non defensive way. Give your partner space for expressing himself or herself. Be present, accusing, defending, attacking. All those patterns that are designed to strengthen or protect the ego or to get its needs met will then become redundant. Giving space to others and to yourself is vital. Love cannot flourish without it. When you have removed the two factors that are destructive of relationships, when the pain body has been transmuted and you're no longer identified with mind and mental positions. And if your partner has done the same, you will experience the bliss of the flowering of relationship. Instead of mirroring to each other your pain and your unconsciousness, instead of satisfying your mutual addictive ego needs, you will reflect back to each other the love that you feel within, the love that comes with the realization of your oneness with all that is. This is the love that has no opposites. I will just take 2 minutes. I have to make a call. Just give me 2 minutes. Yeah. So, in a relationship, when we talk about, the other person, uh, I am doing this, the other person is not doing this. It's very important to realize that you should never be bothered about changing others. You need to actually work on yourself. See, whatever we are doing in a relationship, we are our mind is giving us this thought that me, I'm doing good, but the other person is not listening. The other person is not paying attention. The other person is not, doing things right. That's my mind speaking. Flip the mind. What is the other person thinking? Here मैं इसको इतनी बार समझा चुका हूँ, ये सुन ही नहीं रहा या रही है. That's the same reaction on the other side, because it's two minds at play. Your mind is giving you a picture in which you are good, the other is bad. The other person, his mind is giving a picture that he is good, the other is bad. So mind तो कभी ये बोलेगा ही नहीं कि आप खराब हो या आप ये हो वो हो. तो दूसरे पे ज़्यादा is easier to put the focus on others. But we need to realize that we cannot work or change anybody else. हमारे पास कोई ऐसी पावर नहीं है, किसी के पास नहीं है. Unless or until the other person wants to experience or wants to change, you cannot change him or her. Very clear. But you can work on yourself. How would you like if the other person is also having his point of view that you have to change according to the way he wants it to be? It's not comfortable. So then how can we expect the other person to behave the way we want him to be, him or her to be? मैं कहता हूं कि मैं ठीक हूं, दूसरा बंदा खराब है. He is not behaving the way I want him to behave. He should be more sensitive. He should be more caring. It can be anything. He should be more considerate. He should be more thoughtful. He should be more understanding. So many things aate hain mind mein. And we want that the other person should change. I should not change. But जब हम shoes flip करते हैं and we go to the other person's shoes, he is also asking the same thing, na? Ki I am right, the other person is wrong. So when you do not expect yourself to change for others, then you should also not expect to change the other person for yourself. और जो ये हम थॉट करते हैं ना कि मैंने तो उसके लिए इतना कुछ किया है, that is you have done for your ego, because that's the way you perceived the situation and you wanted to behave in a manner which you thought would be acceptable to the other person. But who is making that thought? Your mind. कि ऐसे कर लेते हैं, probably the other person's reaction would be different. Or probably the other person also comes and says, you should do this like this. And then you do it also sometimes. But that is his mind at play. इस situation में आपको क्या करना है? You need to be in acknowledgement of what is. Mind को side करो, शांति से उसको जो भी चीज है उसको acknowledge करो आपकी space में, and be very clear that you cannot change the situation. You cannot change the other person, he or she, whoever it is. But what is in your control is your reaction or your response. हमने reaction mentality से चलना है कि respond based mentality से चलना है. The only difference between a reaction and a response is one is an unconscious behavior which is random, and one is a conscious behavior which is thought about. So if it is happening and you're instantly reacting with anger, with whatever you're saying something, or you're crying, that's instant unconscious behavior. But अगर आपने उस चीज को अपने space में acknowledge किया, that means it's a conscious behavior at play. So all you need to work is that you need to be consciously aware in that situation and not be carried away with emotions and respond to the situation rather than react, because a reaction will have a greater reaction from the other side. रिएक्शन इतनी जल्दी आसानी से नहीं निकलता, रिएक्शन का आगे सेकंड जो कजन है वो डबल रिएक्शन ही आता है. So you need to be in a conscious way of responding in that situation. And remember, you cannot change the situation and you cannot change the person. All you can do is just work with yourself. That's under your control. If your partner is still identified with the mind and the pain body while you are already free, this will represent a major challenge, not to you, but to your partner. It is not so easy to live with an enlightened person, or rather, it is so easy that the ego finds it extremely threatening. Remember that the ego needs problems, conflicts, and enemies to strengthen the sense of separateness on which its identity depends. The unenlightened partner's mind will be deeply frustrated because its fixed positions are not resisted, which means they will become shaky and weak. And there is even the danger that they may collapse altogether, resulting in loss of self. The pain body is demanding feedback and not getting it. The need for argument, drama, and conflict is not being met. But beware, some people who are unresponsive withdrawn, insensitive, or cut off from their feelings may think and try to convince others that they are enlightened, or at least there is nothing wrong with them and everything wrong with their partner. Men tend to do that more than women. They may see their female partners as irrational or emotional, but if you can feel your emotions, you are not far from the radiant inner body just underneath. If you are mainly in your head, the distance is much greater, and you need to bring consciousness into the emotional body before you can reach the inner body. If there isn't any emanation of love and joy, complete presence and openness towards all beings, then it is not enlightenment. Another indicator is how a person behaves in difficult or challenging situation or when things go wrong. If your enlightenment is egoic self delusion, then life will soon give you a challenge that will bring out your unconsciousness in whatever form, as fear, anger, defensiveness, judgment, depression, and so on. If you are in a relationship, many of your challenges will come through your partner. For example, a woman may be challenged by an unresponsive male partner who lives almost entirely in his head. She will be challenged by his inability to hear her, to give her attention and space to be, which is due to his lack of presence. The absence of love in the relationship, which is usually more keenly felt by a woman than a man, will trigger the woman's pain body, and through it, she will attack her partner, blame, criticize, make wrong, and so on. This is this in turn now becomes his challenge to defend himself against her pain body's attack, which he sees as totally unwarranted. He will become even more deeply entrenched in his mental positions as he justifies, defends himself, or counterattacks. Eventually, this may activate his own pain body when both partners have thus been taken over. A level of deep unconsciousness has been raised of emotional violence, savage attack, and counterattack. It will not subside until both pain bodies have replenished themselves and then enter the dormant stage until the next time. This is only one of an endless number of possible scenarios. Many volumes have been written and many more could be written about the ways in which unconsciousness is brought out in male female relationships. But as I said earlier, once you understand the root of dysfunction, you do not need to explore its countless manifestations. Let's briefly look again at the scenario I have just described. Every challenge that it contains is actually a disguised opportunity for salvation. At every stage of the unfolding dysfunctional process, freedom from unconsciousness is possible. For example, the woman's hostility could become a signal for the man to come out of his mind identified state, awaken into the now, become present, instead of becoming even more identified with his mind, even more unconscious. Instead of being the pain body, the woman could be knowing that watches the emotion pain in herself, thus accessing the power of the now and initiating the transmutation of the pain. This would remove the compulsive and automatic outward projection of it. She could then express her feelings to her partner. There is no guarantee, of course, that he will listen, but it gives him a good chance to become present and certainly breaks the insane cycle of the involuntary acting out of old mind patterns. If the woman misses the opportunity, the man could watch his own mental, emotional reaction to her pain, his own defensiveness, rather than being the reaction. He could then watch out his own pain body being triggered and thus bring consciousness into his emotions. In this way, a clear and still space of pure awareness would come into being, the knowing, the silent witness, the watcher. This awareness does not deny the pain and yet is beyond it. It allows the pain to be and yet transmutes it at the same time. It accepts everything and transforms everything. A door would have opened up for her through which she could easily join him in that space. If you are consistently or at least predominantly present in your relationship, this will be the greatest challenge for your partner. They will not be able to tolerate your presence for the very long and stay unconscious. If they are ready, they will walk through the door that you opened for them and join you in that state. If they are not, you will separate like oil and water. The light is too painful for someone who wants to remain in darkness.